I almost forgot to turn on my VTuber model. Whoops. It's lunchtime. It's time for Genshin, and we're going to go over the My Characters Suck claim and see how you can fix it by just following a few pieces of advice I can give, but mainly because this has happened more than once, not just in stream, but, Force has come in and said that, hey, dear, what do you think I should do? And just kind of break it down. Because there are times that my main account specifically, will have a much easier time in terms of content than his main. So we're going to discuss that. And hi, Brian. How you doing? So, the first thing I want to actually propose the one question. Because that's going to depend on the answer. If you are before AR45, and you say, my characters stink, don't sweat it. You're not even AR45. Why are you worrying about doing the Spiral Abyss? Outside of doing the early floors for some primos, you can always go back and get the primos you missed. It's not gonna go away, unlike floors 9 through 12 that get reset. 1 through 8 do not get reset. They are the one-time thing. If you miss the star, you can go back in when you're more powerful. Do not sweat it. If you are AR45, I'm going to give you one solid piece of advice that I did on my main, but I didn't do on this account. And that was when I hit AR45, I actually upped my world level on this account. And I didn't do that on my main. I was AR45 for a while. And at AR45, you can get 5-star artifacts from the domains. And it is a guaranteed 5-star artifact. Not saying it's going to be good or the right set, but you can get them. So by keeping it at that AR when I did on my main for, like I said, it was a while, was actually not a bad thing because it allowed me to keep the enemies outside at a level that I knew I could deal with them and not feel like, oh my god, this is taking forever, what the hell, Ruin Guard kind of situation, while I worked on getting proper sets of the artifacts. So, if you feel that you might struggle for whatever reason, don't be afraid to keep yourself at that AR for a little bit while you transition your artifacts over to that point. The other thing I did, funny enough, on this account, this is my second account versus my main, I actually leveled 4-star artifacts of the Berserker, Exile, and Instructor sets when they were relevant. So as I was getting treasure boxes and stuff like that, I got those pieces. And that's what my characters use. Of course, I had the pieces from the player's handbook. The Adventurer's Handbook. So like the 2-piece Blizzard Strayer, Deepwood Memory, so on and so forth. And some of those actually did get leveled and used as a 2-piece set. Like so I believe Kaya ran 2-piece Blizzard Strayer and 2-piece Berserker at one point. I don't remember if he was 4-piece Berserker, but I think he was the 2-piece. So he had 2-piece cryo damage and he had 2-piece attack, which did very well for him, kind of situation, right? Don't be afraid to do that and level those as you're in between when you're going to go for your 5-star relics later. Artifacts. I just did I did it in the reverse. That was Star Rail. But don't be afraid to do that. And honestly, yes, if you look back on the VODs where I was starting to farm Marchese Hunter, but specifically Golden Troop, same domain, but it was specifically for Golden Troop, I struggled on this account to actually clear the domain. And part of that had to do with team compositions. I didn't really have any real heavy hitters. This is around the time where you saw Eula kind of slip off. And I can't remember I don't remember if I had Tighnari at the time. I can't remember if I did. If I did, I don't use Tighnari very, very well. So case in point, your team comps could be a part of it, but don't be afraid to actually have those 4-star artifacts of those sets. Even I would even throw in a little bit of Wanderer's Troop and Gladiator, because you should at that point be fighting the weekly bosses or or at the very least their bosses to ascend the characters, which will drop those pieces. Don't be afraid to actually use those as well, because again, those will be stopgap pieces until you get the sets and whatnot for your team. So that's first and foremost. If you are past AR-45, the biggest thing I can say is make sure your characters are at least in their final ascension. Mark them at 81, because it's not going to take that much resource to do that. So they're ascended. That way they get their final stats, because some of the really top good characters, ascend into crit rate or crit damage. Neuvillette happens to be crit damage, and his main set is Marchesai Hunter. So you don't really have to heavily invest into crit rate for him. Mine is still on the little bit of the low side. I will state that. He's a little bit on the low side, but he has the damage to back it up when he does crit. So 2 thumbs up. But yes, the character ascension is first and foremost. The second thing is your talent levels, being at least level 9. Honestly, if you had gotten to that 45 point, AR-45, and you started building your artifacts and stuff like that, the character's probably and should have been level 80 with level 8 talents. I normally say that the level 8 talents are good enough, quote unquote, just good enough, and you can move on to the next character. This gives a nice little stopgap point so that you can do that. Because this is also where you'll start needing double drops. So, just a case in point, we're going to use Chasca as an example here. That's not talents. There we go. So, as you can see, like her main attack, her normals don't really matter. That's the only reason they're level 2 is the only one that uses the brown book. And I'm like, you know what? There's no reason not to do that. So I did that. Her main shot, her skill, got crowned. And right now we're going to go double crown because, as you can see, I have everything for it. Level 9 and 10. 10 is just gravy. I've done it on more so my main, but primary DPS and the supports I know I use. Those are who gets crowned. And I have 20 crowns on this account, so I can be a little bit more free on who I choose to crown. So right now we are going to double crown Chasca, because I do use Chasca a lot, and she's my favorite DPS on this account. So I'm going to favor her. The other one I got stuff for was... Is it Barisa? I didn't craft the books. That's funny. All right. Let's go and do that. The unfortunate thing about Genshin is that it's still technically an archaic system where... Ooh, Xingqiu, pop off. Eula didn't pop off, but she at least gave us one. Yes. Yes, this is open again today. I won't do that on stream, but that is open. There we go. Barista's over here. Genshin's still in that archaic system where you have to be on specific days to actually, farm certain things. And the only piece of advice I can give for that is try to be as organized as possible to plan out. Excuse me. To plan out what character you're doing. I found, and Forrest found this out too, when we would actually do like a week of X character. So back when I started the second account, and managed to get Baizhu, we had like a week of Baizhu. So it was when his talent books were up, we went after his talent books. And then if it wasn't, we would actually do his normal leveling material stuff, right? And then whatever day I chose to do bosses, we would go and do his boss. So it became a lot more organized and made the leveling process feel a lot smoother. Not gonna necessarily say faster, but it was smoother. So for me, like, thankfully, I think, let me see. Because I have not actually really used this. Because this got implemented after I started. Let's see more characters. Who haven't I leveled? All right, let's take a look at the level 20 character. Let's take a look at Aoife. Can ascend, weapon. Okay, yeah. So they do give you some good advice. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, because this is done by all player data, I believe. So you can either look at the in-game stuff here, or you can, go onto Google and, just type in like Aoife build and see what people have said. So the current weapon he has, of course, is his level 1, the one that he came with, because I'm not using him. Commonly used are the sacrifice, the Mapamare, and the Witsith, really. Yeah, no, you know what? That actually kind of makes sense. I would still want him with Elemental Mastery, if I'm being honest. But you have some kind of range of weapons that you can choose from and go, okay, do I have these? And see what you have. It'll tell you, like, my Sacrifice is on Nahida. So, okay, cool. Like, I have one leveled. It's on Nahida. I could just flip it to try out Aoife. Artifacts. It's like, all right. And then the current artifacts, he has nothing. You can do the quick config from this window, huh? And then shows you what he can use. And more than likely, yes, you're gonna have him on VV. But there's some other options here too, which are the 2 sets from Natlan. 2 of the sets from Natlan. And then, of course, we have talents, and this says it can be upgraded, but it also tells you what the top priorities are here. So you can get an idea of the order. So the trainer guide, if you were totally looking for advice or a guideline, absolutely. This is fantastic. And I want to point out, it wasn't like this when it was first implemented. I thought it was pretty useless, because what I remember when it was first implemented was I have it on the character. How do I back out of the character? Oh, okay. So this is funny. They're telling me my Kazuha needs stuff. Kaching Bang's website is somewhat neat and nice to look up quick game guides on pretty much all Genshin characters, except old ones, I guess. Okay, yeah, so there's another resource right there. And that's the thing. Brings me back to like my old FF11 days too. Because the game wouldn't tell you. No, this is old school MMO, by the way. If you don't know that 11 is an MMO, you had to go online and look up everything. So back in my day, the game didn't necessarily tell you sometimes. So whatever resources you can find just by doing a quick Google search, like often you'll hear me go, "What the hell is my ER requirement for X character?" The site I use, which is I believe it's called Gamer8, doesn't usually tell me that one specific piece of information. And normally just a quick Google X character ER requirements will bring up a Reddit post that gives me the answer of what I should shoot for. So don't be afraid to look at this whenever you log into the game so you can figure out what you need to do for the character. For me, I actually have things written down. I've said this a couple times. I have a mini notebook that sits on my desk, which has all my objectives. So for an example, what I have in the page in front of me, it says main account objectives, getting 81 plus characters talents to level 9. So when I did the quote unquote sprucing of my account, all my characters went to level 8 talents that didn't have it. And that's where they stood because, again, it required double drops from the boss. And I literally spent all the way through, not the elixirs. Why am my brain saying elixirs? The solvents, the dream solvents. So, just to get them to level 8, I actually had to burn through the solvents. Because it was just so many bosses I had to fight, because a lot of those characters just had like level 6 talents and stuff like that. So then below this, I have the characters that had still level 8 talents that were level 90 or 81 plus, as I wrote down. Raiden Shogun. Raiden Shogun got all her books. She just needs the piece from Signora. Sino has all his books. He just needs the pieces from Raiden Shogun. Keqing needs her books. So we're going to be farming those today after we do 3 ley lines, because it's double ley line. But she has all the boss drops from Boreas. Dea actually got completed. I actually managed to go in for Praxis, get the few books she needed. I had the puppet strings already, so her burst and her skill are level 9. So she's already done. And then there's Shinobu, and she actually has all her books. She just needs her pieces from the Raiden Shogun. So it's not a huge list because I did that original push for level 8, and 1 level technically doesn't make that big of a difference in terms of what I need to farm. But again, that's multiple characters as opposed to just one. And that gets into probably the trap a lot of people have fallen into, whether it be, just because you want to actually level all the things or you want to be focused. So my main account is definitely more focused in on terms of like a quote unquote vertical investment. So I have 2 teams, technically 3, and the third team is either, the Alhaitham team that I run, which is Alhaitham Hyperbloom, or it's the Risley team at this point. Now, the only problem with doing the Risley / Skirk team, it takes Farina. It takes Farina away from Nuvolette, and we don't do that. So unless I don't want to use Nuvi or I can't use Nuvi for whatever reason, that would be the team I would run. Now, I'm going to bring in my husband's account for a sec, because that account, his main account, is definitely more of a horizontal investment because he just loves building characters. And why wouldn't you? That's kind of the point of this game. It really is. So because he has that horizontal investment, he has way more options of team comps he can bring to the party. But because of the horizontal investment, and our accounts, you got to keep in mind, our main accounts aren't even 2 years old yet. They will be 2 years old in, I'm just going to round it for both of us and say September, because he started before I did, which was late August, and I started early September. So around that time, they will be 2 years old. We still don't have, we have artifacts, sure, but we don't have like the plethora of artifacts that veteran players do. So even with the horizontal investment being made in just like leveling the characters, they don't really have their own sets of artifacts or even weapons. So it's going to ultimately decide what you want to do. So he has no problem doing the Imaginarium Theater because of the horizontal investment. I, on the other hand, specifically on my main, I don't have all the characters needed for the elements to consistently do visionary mode. So it's the unfortunate thing that Genshin did it this way. Ultimately, what Genshin should have done is turned it into something like Divergent Universe, where all the characters are brought up to max level and whatever's on them is leveled and you can do the content. So that's the unfortunate thing with that. Is it wrong to do the horizontal investment? Absolutely not. Again, it has its merits to do it. Well, is it bad to do vertical investment? Not really. Because if you want to just focus on your fave, you're going to focus on your fave. And ultimately, why would you play a game if you're playing characters you hate? But also got to keep in mind, my main account doesn't typically struggle with a lot of things anymore. So that's going to be up to you. And that's the question you have to ask yourself in terms of sprucing or fixing. Now, what's the difference between the two phrases? Because I say my main account got spruced. It just got a little dusting here and there, right? A little spit and polish. Because I was on the right track. Nuvolette was probably the best example of this and was the reason that I actually pushed forward to it. And that was because I needed more crit damage. And the only way I could do that was with the Witzif for what I had. But this account, 100%, I'm not going to lie. This account, I would consider it needs fixing. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the roster of 5 stars, it's not very good. I have fantastic supports with Farina, Kazu, Shilonen, even Baiju. Like, I have great supports, Nahida. But the only real DPS that does the damage, Barisa. I don't know what it is about Chaska. I like Chaska. I like her gameplay a lot. But I don't know what happened to her. She seemed way more powerful when she first came out. And it's like, oh, she can actually avoid plenty of attacks while she's in the air. And now she's constantly getting knocked out of it. And I'm not really sure why. But it makes it feel like she can't do damage. Eula fell off so hard, which makes sense. She is an older character. You know, and Tighnari does his best. You know, with that R4 Amos bow, he better try. Mualani, absolute worst pick for me. Not just because of how she works and wanting to vape, which we fixed. You know, we gave her Dea, so she's not getting knocked around on the shark as much. Xiangling, I lucked out and got C6 actually fairly early into the account's life. But for some reason, she can't crack that 400k I hit that one time in testing. Instead, she can barely touch 300k. So it is going to be a question of who are you pulling for? And again, I can't blame you. It's like, oh, Mualani was so good. I loved her character. I love how like perky she is. She just makes me so happy, to quote her. You know, I don't blame you for pulling for Mualani if she's your fave. Just be aware, like when you go into that trial to test the character, make damn sure you like how they play, first of all. Because if you're just getting her because you heard she was a good DPS and she was your favorite character and it turns out that she's trash, just because of mechanic wise, I mean, there's not much I can say or do about that in terms of advice. But, hey, honey, how you doing? So, and this also goes into the line of, are you free to play? Or are you I don't really want to say dolphin. Dolphin implies that you top up at least a little bit, but you know, or are you BP welcome player, budget spender kind of thing? Like, it's all going to depend. And the reason I say that is because of weapons and a little bit of resources. Because as a free to play player, oh my God, this account struggles. It struggles for many different reasons. And you know what? I should probably go into my artifact room. Hang on. No. It struggles a lot. And part of that, you know, is the resources. Some people might scoff and go, it doesn't give you that many resources from the battle pass. Oh no, it does. Because when you think about ley lines, you're only getting a maximum of 5 heroes wits per blue ley line. That's not a lot, considering the fact it takes like 200 books or something like that to get to level 90. It's crazy. Whoops. It's absolutely crazy how much it actually takes. I honestly like the battle pass more for the Mora than anything else, if I'm being honest. But you know, you get some fragile resin in there, or extra fragiles, and stuff like that, so you can build your characters. And once again, the fact that there's daily lockouts is annoying. And why I'm saying, you know, being organized will help you in the long run. You doing good? You enjoying your first day of vacation? So the other thing, one of the other things I can say for advice, when in terms of doing dailies, is this, the artifact route. I know, like I can't tell you how many like challenge runs I've watched and stuff where, nope, we're gonna lag because I didn't hit it. I hit the button and it didn't glide. That's great. But how many challenge runs I've watched where they're like, okay, we farmed these artifacts. I'm going to roll this. And they're like, well, I have no artifact XP. I got to go farm more artifacts, use more resin to get more artifacts. Yeah, the 4 stars and 3 stars do give you more XP, of course. Of course they do. But this is a daily dose of artifact XP. And whether you use it as artifact XP or not is up to you, but you can destroy it and get Mora as well. And yes, I don't do this every day, especially for when I accidentally push it back so far. Because I'm like, oh man, it's like 1 o'clock. Do I really want to try to maintain that 1 o'clock and try to do this and go on a little later or what have you? There are days that especially on the weekend, I tend to kind of veg for a little bit, and then when Forrest goes to stream, I will actually turn on, I'll turn on his broadcast, but that's when I do my dailies and stuff. But that's not until like 6:30 in the evening for us, and I'm like, do I really want to do that? I wasn't expecting the. What the hell? Wasn't expecting that. So it's a good habit to have to try to do this every day. Because again, it can give you artifact XP, it can give you Mora, if you should destroy them and need the Mora. But you don't have to do it every day. You could do it every other if you wanted to. But Luce, you might say, I don't know an artifact route. Well, you can watch the VODs. I do this route every day on stream on both accounts. I actually deliberately did it so they were the same because it's what I remembered. There are multiple routes you can do. Heck, the underground temple in the desert is a great source of artifacts. My issue is I unlocked that so late that I forget about it. Because that's unlocked during the Jet storyline. Ah, one day. Actually, no, I had it one day. I just didn't do it on stream. I did it one day on the weekend, and I was like, oh. That I did it without aiming. But yeah, you can follow along with what I've been doing here. As you can see, I start out in Fontaine. And the only one that's actually locked behind anything is this tower here. This tower, you actually have to do a puzzle, but it's not hard. You just go into the back door of the tower, and then you can get it. You can get it. And it's the same with the ship on in Inazuma. That's I believe that's actually a mini quest that opens that. So, again, it will reward you for doing it. But I think those are the only 2 spots that I do that... Oh, no, there's another spot in Inazuma that does do a puzzle. So there's 2 spots in Inazuma that actually have a puzzle connected to them, or a quest. And there's the 1 spot in Fontaine. But if you don't want to do that, there are plenty of spots out in the open that you can grab. Heck, you could actually ignore the tower and go into just Fontaine itself and get 3 artifacts in there. Well, what if I can't remember? Well, muscle memory will help you, but you see the little symbols here? Now, granted, I didn't do it over here, but like I have them here, I have one down here, and stuff like that. That's my markings on the map to tell me that there are artifacts there, just in case I forget. Could I actually delete them now? Absolutely. Am I going to? Probably not.
Not too far now. Time to say hello. Truth bomb! Smile! Ha!
Oh, that's a big lag. That's a big lag. Okay.
Done.
When you feel like you can't turn, you know you're lagging. But yeah, there are plenty of videos on YouTube actually that will actually lay out some of the artifact routes that are available. That's actually how Forrest and I learned about the one in Inazuma. Not Inazuma, Leeway. So the spots I actually go to in Leeway uh, was because of a video we saw that was like, honestly, I think it was like 2 years old or 3 years old at the time. So it was very, very early into Genshin's life that I believe this was made. So it's like, oh, there's spots actually out here. Mondstadt, I believe, is the only one that doesn't have anything like that. So if you're just starting out and going, oh, but I can't do an artifact route, you can. Forest is also proof that if you're brave enough, you can run to Fontaine at level 20 and do an artifact route. Because, yes, he did that on the 4-star only account. I overshot. So plenty of good resources done by content creators to help you with just playing the game as smooth as possible. Now, another thing I will bring up, because it's all about account maintenance too. Because if your characters are suffering for the fact that it's like, oh, well, I don't have Mora or XP books, then you're not farming ley lines. Like, the ley lines are there so that you can make sure you have a supply of that stuff. Well, then I'm not farming artifacts. That's true. And Forrest and I have both fell into that as well. Like, we have had nothing because it feels like our artifacts aren't getting upgraded because we are too busy, getting XP or Mora. So his plan. So his plan of spending 80 resin on character materials. So this could mean.
Looks like I went too far.
So this could mean using it for XP books, Mora, their talent domain is open, their weapon domain is open, so on and so forth. 80 resin of whatever his daily total is, not capped, doesn't have to be capped. He would use on characters, and then the rest would be spent in an artifact domain. Whether it be for that character or not, irrelevant. But some kind of artifacting would be done. And I think that's an excellent idea because it actually does keep you trying to get those side grades. I'm not even going to say upgrade. Most of them turned out to be side grades, let's face it. And I've adopted that system as well. And it does work. It does work very, very well. But if I feel like I'm doing all right on some things, and like talent domain, for an example, we have Kaching domains open today. And I'm going to be needing that because she needed all 3 of her stuff to go to level 9. Yes, I'm aware her skill doesn't necessarily have to go to level 9 or even be leveled beyond like level 6. But I'm just going to do it anyway. And it's the last one she needs too, so I might as well. I did it for Alhaitham. So because of that, but we also have the Leyline event going on. So it has double drops on the ley lines. So I'm going to spend, the 60 resin on the ley lines because of the event. So 3 ley lines, and then the rest will go towards her books. Thankfully, I should have enough of the stuff in my teapot to actually get the resin, so I can just recoup that cost of the resin and use it on the XP books. So I guess another piece of advice would be don't ignore your teapot. You can easily spam through putting down furnishings and stuff like that to up the... It's something energy. Adeptal energy? Is that what it's called? In the teapot to level it up to level 10, which is the max. And the level will give you the bonus stuff, and then I can't remember how much it is, the actual energy it is to get to the max quote unquote luxury of the teapot, which will actually tell you determine the coins you get per hour, I think it is.
Rain. Ugh, my hair and feathers are gonna get soaked. Time for some preening when I get back.
I can't overload because it's raining.
The wrong test subject.
Get down. Thank you. Also, be aware, if you do this route here to get to this spot, and you have your a daily commission set to leeway, if the one here is active for the treasure hoarders, the artifacts won't appear. Just be aware of that. It happens in Inazuma as well.
Take me up.
Almost done here.
Let's fly.
I find it funny that I kill these every day. Not the second one, usually. Usually that one disappears beforehand. But I kill that one every day, and I'm only at like 800 raw meat. I found that out when I actually remembered to do my reputation. Oops. Oop, my frames. My frames! Yeah, no. Why are you guys so far spread out? Look at that.
Open fire.
They were so far spread out. What the heck? Not even Kazuha could bring them in. Venti might have. Venti could have. All right. And that marks the end of it. So yeah, I know there's one here. So if I don't see this lit up, then I know it's the end of the run. On the off chance I do see it lit, then I just run back to Fontaine and I check one spot, which is the boxes next to the cat that I dubbed Mr. Boots. And then Mr. Boots will tell me if it's done or not, and then I thank him. Because we always thank Mr. Boots. Alright, so the next piece that I will bring up, and I have showed this, and the sad truth of it, one of the reasons this account needs quote-unquote fixing is because of the 5-star weapons. Now, the unfortunate truth with the 5-star weapons is that it's RNG. I am relying on winning a 50-50, whether, on the weapon banner to get one. If it's going to be the one I picked or the other limited, who knows? Or it's going to be a freaking Amos bow. Yes, like you're not mistaken. These are the only 2 5-star weapons I have. And what the heck are the odds of me getting 3 Amos bows in a row from the standard banner? I believe every Amos bow is from the standard banner. Because I think the only time I rolled on the weapon banner to get the 5-star was when I got First Great Magic. And that was trying to get Chaska's weapon. So, it is what it is. But these could actually help you deal a little bit more damage and something that's a little bit less RNG than artifacts. And I only say that because artifacts, you could just farm the domain for hours and get nothing but triple flat stats. It's possible. So this is where I fell into a trap for the second time. Because I know I need it. I know I need 5-star weapons. The Inazuma Chronicle Wish on paper looks fantastic, especially when it comes to the weapons. Because you have 2 crit damage swords with the Mist Splitter and was it like Ukasa Namigiri or something like that? It's Shiori's weapon. I can't remember what the actual name of it is. But they're crit damage weapons. Huron, which is Ayato's weapon, is a crit rate weapon. You have a crit damage stat stick. Hell's is a stat stick within the Red Horn. But if you want to throw it on Noelle, she can make use of the passive. And we have the one that I'm selecting here, Kagura's Verity, which is a crit damage catalyst. I don't think Veresa can take advantage of the passive, but what this will do is make it so I'm not relying on the Witsith, because the Witsith is random. When you select the character onto the field, it brings up the notes, and depending on the number of the notes, tells you what passive is going to be active. And more often than not, it Fs you over. It's a partial reason why Mualani wasn't doing really good damage. And I'll get into that a little bit when I go to my main account, because I can flip around artifacts and I can see if I can recreate Nouvelette's build from back then. But I was like, you know what? I could get this as a stat stick, because I can use it on Veresa and I could use it on Mualani. The problem is, you can see I only have a handful of wishes here. I should get a 4-star, though, on the next wish. So at the very least, we might get something good. But we only have 8 days left on this banner, which is exciting. That means we get Skirk next week. Hells yeah. For my main account, anyway. I'm going after Skirk. But that's not a lot of time to try to get, from what I saw, I believe I'm at 53 pity. I still need 22 wishes to even touch soft pity. And yes, I am well aware that I skipped out on some primos with one of the events because I wasn't having the computer screw me over every time. Did anybody else have this problem with the tactical event where you place something down and for whatever reason their pathing kept going into the bombs? Because that happened every time. I'm like, why are you taking that one path? You were literally taking a stroll all the way around so you could walk through the bombs. And it happened every single time. So I just wasn't having it. So I missed out on 60 primos on this account and unfortunately 100 on my main because I didn't do it. That was my choice, but I want to point out the number. 60 and 100. Neither of those separately is a wish. So I messed up the total count, sure, but it wasn't enough to even get me one wish, so it's the only reason I let it go. I'm just saying my piece, all right? But this is a trap. And not because I was going to go for Skirk on this account, but because Malvika is coming in the second half. And I would like Malvika. I think Malvika would actually do more for the account than the Kagura's Verity. So the other piece of advice that I can give is definitely take a look at the account, at your account, and go, what would make it better? I only have 2 5-star weapons. A 5-star weapon would actually help the account. I'm not gonna lie. But you saw the state of my characters too, where I have a very old physical DPS, and physical has not been relevant in forever. They did up Shatter in terms of its damage and stuff like that, but it's not enough to make Eula viable. It really isn't. Apparently, and I did try it during one of the events where I could use Eula and Escoffier together, and it actually felt pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it actually felt pretty good. To the point where I almost wish I got Escoffier on this account, but I didn't need a sub DPS or a healer. I need a primary DPS. And then the only other one I have built that has a 5-star weapon is Tighnari, and Tighnari does all right, but he's not like the newer characters. And again, I felt like Chaska fell off. Mualani was just a bad choice because she's so inconsistent with her damage. Veresa was the only one that I had that does what she's supposed to. So I do need another DPS. Because I don't have Escoffier, I am not going for Skirk on this account. Malvika, though, because I do not even have a single Pyro DPS and of the 5-star variety, would be the much better choice. Now, my only problem with that is I don't really have a weapon for her. I have the craftable, of course. I could just throw that on her, but it's not the best option for her. She needs her weapon. If I got her Wolf's Greystone, that would have been cool. So it's kind of one of those things. Do you need more for your roster, or do you need stuff for what you already have? So my answer for this account, I think going for Malvika is going to be better than if I got the 5-star weapon. However, I will continue pulling to see if I can get a 5-star on here because I'm already 50 deep, and try until roughly about 2 to 3 days before the banner flips. This gives me time to actually start stocking up on Primos a little bit, and then for the first half of the patch, I can just farm Primos. So that's the unfortunate truth when it comes to fixing your account or trying to identify the problem. And why I'm saying this account needs to be fixed as opposed to a little spit and polish that my main needed. And we'll go over what the main needed to do when I flip over to it. But for right now, let's do the couple pulls for Kagura's Verity. We'll go and do the ley lines. I'm going to condense resin thereafter. And then we'll flip it to the main. So wish number 1. This should be 53. This should be the 4-star. I'm wrong. On the 4-star part, which probably means it's at pity for the 4-star. Yep. Kooky? You're not a kooky. And last one. And it's blue. And we do have one. Not gonna do that too many more times. I would like this to prove me wrong, too, on an early 5-star. Because, again, most people I've seen pulling on this thing have always gone to pity. And that includes when I got Eula on the Mondstadt Chronicle Wish. And honestly made me mad. Oh. Honestly, I thought he was a higher constellation than that. Not gonna lie. All right. So we're gonna go to I want to say Natland still, because I do need the teeth. But we will double check. So, here's another piece of advice. When you're doing farming ley lines, and you're like, well, where do I go to farm the ley lines? The funny thing is, the ley line themselves will net you the same thing, no matter what. It gives you the set number of Mora, or it gives you a small range of XP books that you can get. So, with like world level 8 and 9, you're going to get anywhere between 4 and 5 heroes wit, okay? It doesn't matter where you go. What determines where you go is what you need for items. So in this case, I have 101 of those, and then she's maxed. I don't know why I'm looking at her. Auroron's not, and you need the teeth? Yeah. How many can we craft? We can craft 80, so I don't necessarily have to go to Natlan for, like, the fangs and stuff like that. On my main, I do. It's funny enough. So let's see. What do you need, Charlotte? You need cogs. How are we doing on cogs? We can craft 77. Not terrible. Actually, not terrible. What about the whistles? Let's check the whistles. You need whistles? You do need whistles. 302. I think I'm good. Well, this is a yeah, you need treasure hoarders. That's you don't need you don't need anything. Baiju needs okay. I don't really want to go farm fungi. But this is a good example. So you can see that I can craft 53 of them. This would require to actually change my party up so it's just basically Hydro and Cryo. So I could just take out Auroron and go do that. But some of the spots, I will point out, some of the spots for Sumeru suck ass. Trying to actually read the map and figure out where the damn thing is stinks. But that's case in point, all right? I technically should go and farm fungi. I probably need specters too, if I'm being honest. Where's Cookie? 51. So it's about the same boat, but it's a better bet. So we'll go to Inazuma to do the 3. So go to Inazuma. We still want more? Oh, you would. I don't have this unlocked. Wait, is this the one that gets unlocked by the cannon? It's one of those ones. Yeah, I think this is the one that gets unlocked by the cannon, and for whatever reason, the cannon wasn't hitting this. That's alright, we can just fly over from where Mount Kinky is. So, I unfortunately don't... Oh, no, it's... Okay, I know what unlocks it. It's not the cannon. I need to stop the rain from here and do the puzzle.
Time for some
I don't remember how to stop the rain. That's okay. That might be the quest to stop the rain. You also want to know a funny thing? I don't know if I've ever... I honestly don't know if I've ever done a ley line in this spot.
Strike a pose!
Tell me what you see. Be free.
Hard-hitting exclusive! Sadie, take me up!
Alright, so as you can see, there's no specters here from this.
Lockdown!
You almost went off the cliff, Chaska. But nothing wrong with getting the handguards. Now, yes, when there is double ley line like this, don't condense. Where? No, don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. Because you have another account you need to go into. And I kind of do want to go into Star Rail. the robots, right? Yeah.
Time to say hello.
Truth bomb! Let's fly! Locked on! Open fire!
That was awkward. Alright, so again, nothing in Spectres, and I don't believe this one is Spectres either. I think this one is more of the Samurai. So, unfortunate. I honestly can't remember which ones have Spectres and which ones don't. And the funny thing is, I've gotten the ones that don't so often that I could probably pick out which ones don't.
Let's get down to business. Tell me what you see. Not too far now.
Hard-hitting exclusive!
Have a lucky day.
Open fire!
But I won't say no to handguards. There are other characters that need those too. That's not the ley line. There we go. Alright. Let's undo that. I didn't hand in my expedition rewards. Because I've been trying to do that before I go take off.
The sun feels almost as hot as those studio lights I'm in front of all the time. Good thing there can only be
One sun. We know, Farina. Although it's been a while since I heard that line. It's been a while. Alright. Hold on to those. I will hit the teapot before I end with this account.
Ad Astra. Thank you for
Alright. Friendship!
Ad Astra.
Of course, my Mora ones aren't up yet. 2 hours? Just about 2 hours, yeah. Because I did them late, so probably won't get to hit those today. Unless I come back in to do the event. Ah, yes, it's Lisa's birthday. It's 6/9. They knew. Can't tell me they didn't. Alright, let's go to the teapot. I'm gonna see if I can grab the transient so I have it for later. Because right now this account doesn't necessarily have a plan. Because it's, I believe it's Eonson's talent, but she should have I believe I saw that she had enough to level 9. So I'm not really too worried about it. So I'm kind of just wanting to stock up a little bit on the condensed resin. So I have it for when I really need it. Check that. There we go.
If you ever
And we have a couple days left. Like I said, I remembered to do my reputation. I'll do my reputation later this week. And I got the crystal fly trap. So once my transmuter thing is back up, I'll do the same thing I do on my main. And set up the crystal fly trap so we can start getting a little extra crystal flies. So we have a nice little stock. Alright, so just a mini recap. The reason I'm saying this account needs to be fixed is because I have kind of no DPSs that are worth their salt. And I'm sorry about that, Chaska. And now, again, it could be the comp I'm running with Chaska, because I do like the freeze, superconduct, electrocharge. And plus Chaska, because Chaska just does everything. You know, I like that comp. It's fun. And I feel comfortable with it. But if I feel her damage is kind of low, so I actually wonder if, like, Overvape would be fine. Strictly just Overload or something could actually help her. But that would be a testing I would have to do. Because her build isn't bad. Her build is not bad at all. She obviously would do better with her weapon as opposed to the first Great Magic, but, you know, it is what it is. I lost. So the roster is a problem, and my weapons are more so a problem. In terms of artifacts, we can take a quick peek. I still am not sure what to put on Charlotte, if I'm being honest. I know she wants energy, and that's why she's on the 2-piece emblem in the 2-piece Cinder City, because it will give energy. In terms of her stats, she's looking like this. So her energy is pretty good. And that's honestly all I really care about. Her attack probably could be higher, and that's what her healing scale's off of. But other than that, she's not too bad. Auroron honestly has more attack than I thought he would. He is C4. You know, he's got a really good Sands, good Feather. Okay, his flower is a little but it has a lot of the crit rate, which is what I want for the Fab Bow. This is the only thing that I can question. It's not a bad attack goblet, but I would like him with Electro. I do believe Fischl stole his Electro goblet, so it is what that is what it is. But he can prop Fav, so that's all I want, and he's got enough ER to bring up his taunt, so he's all good. Furina actually is pretty decent. She can crit. She has a decent crit rate. Her crit damage could be a little bit higher. Her ER could be a little bit higher too, if I'm being honest. If she was running another Hydro, it would be fine. So her ER could be a little bit better, but she's running Fav. She's got a really good crit rate circlet. HP goblet, pretty decent. HP Sands that has a 14% ER. Now, I want to point out, I could run an ER Sands on her, which we have one right here with HP in it, so I might roll that and just see how it goes at some point. And it has crit rate, so she's not going to be suffering for losing the crit rate, because as it is, that's only like 0.8 lower than what she's got. So there is a potential that we could see something pretty good for her to actually give her some more ER, because she is just that hair off of getting her burst back every rotation. Her Feather, decent. Flower, decent. You know, I can't complain about Furina. She just needs her talents leveled, and then there's Chaska. Crit damage, because she's on Codex. It has a little bit of crit rate to help her out. She's got an okay attack Sands. Pretty good attack Sands. Or not attack Sands. Goblet. Attack Sands, actually pretty decent. Feather might be considered to be better. But, not gonna complain. I mean, for not losing Mualani, I could just throw this one on her. But she would be overcapped on crit, I believe. You know, she has decent stuff. So, like, the artifacts aren't perfect, but they're actually good for what I need. So as you can see, she gets plus 40 from the Codex, so she has 87 crit rate over 273. I consider that a win. And she functions. I just don't know why it feels like her damage is so low in certain cases, when she's basically swirling and reacting all the time, because that's the way she works. So, questionable. So at this point, for this account, it's just basically upping the roster a little bit. So in this case, it would be more of a horizontal investment to get more to my roster to make teams that are going to be powerful and hopefully consistent. So Malvika definitely would be, you know, a good choice for that. And then when I can get some weapons. Now, I want to point out, if I can save enough and just literally nose to the grindstone and farm for Malvika. So this means all exploration, quests, and stuff like that. I'm not even going to bother showing you my quest log because it's sad of how many things are still sitting there. The weapon banner, I can't speak for the 4 stars, but for the 5 stars, actually might go in my favor, because if I can win either of the 2 limited, it's not terrible. Of course, I would want Malvika's for Malvika, but getting Lumidu's is it like Lumidu's Elegy or something like that? Is Lumidu's something? It's Emily's weapon. It's not a bad polearm. So I could have a 5-star polearm to throw on, say, Zhangling. If I have enough ER. I'm going to rephrase that. If I have enough ER to take the catch off. But it is a weapon that could be considered good for another character. So we could get something like that. Heck, even going for like Calamity Queller probably wouldn't be a bad thing if I decided to do that, which I'm not. But there's going to be more opportunities. Unfortunately, I feel that the 5-star weapons, post Sumeru, I want to say it's post Sumeru, feel more catered to the character they're meant for, so their signature character, than being overall like universal. But they're stat sticks. If you can just use a stat stick just to eke out that little bit of damage that you need, again, I don't see a problem with that. All right, let me change accounts. I will be right back. And we'll talk about the sprucing part of it for my Bane account. BRB, y'all. There we go. Move my mic back. There we go. Are you actually going to log in? You are. Okay. The last few days, for some reason, when changing the accounts, it'll tell me it can't log into the server, and I would have to say reconnect for some reason. For some reason. Alright. So, the old spit and polish. Because originally, when I was deciding to go, hey, maybe I should do a fixing my account video kind of thing. And I did have recordings of me doing the ley lines and a bunch of other stuff I did to attempt to, quote unquote, fix the account. But it was when doing so, after leveling the characters So again, first and foremost, if you look at your stuff and you say, oh, I need XP, I need Mora, don't be afraid to do ley lines. I literally, the first month when I decided to spruce it up, I did nothing but ley lines. I did 1 week of XP books, then the following week was Mora, then XP, then Mora, and then the last few days I mixed the two. And it worked out for the better. So don't be afraid to do that. Now, the reason I was just like, who could I squeak the damage out of? This was back with the 2 Pyro Electors. I don't remember what else was in the Abyss. At the time, I just remember the Electors. And it meant that Neuvillette would be the only thing that could do this as a carry. And his build, like, I have changed some stuff. I know I don't have his Sands anymore because I just ate that. The moment I got this thing, I ate it. But where's Prototype Amber? So my Neuvillette was on the 4-piece Marachise Hunter. Granted, some pieces have changed since then. And the Prototype Amber. It's not too far off, actually. His crit rate is the same. His crit damage was below 200. So I don't know if I would have been able to do it with this specific build. But my crit damage, I'm not even joking, was like 189 or something like that. And the only thing I could think of that would give me the damage I needed to up it was the Witsith. Sunrisely. Was the Witsith. Now, the funny thing about this, as I mentioned, it has an inconsistency. And for Neuvillette, he only wants, I believe it's the second one, that increases all elemental damage. The other 2 don't really do anything for him, specifically because, like, the Elemental Mastery, you could argue if he was reacting, if he was doing something with, say, although he had the Baiju version, I think, at that time, because it was before Natlan. So he was at least creating blooms and stuff like that, but he wasn't doing, like, Hyper Bloom. He wasn't doing Vape or anything like that to really utilize that damage. So it was pretty much worthless outside of that, and you were just going for it for the stat stick of 55 crit damage. And this is what it looks like with the current build. So he's still under 300 crit damage, but it's a way better ratio. And I probably could have done way better with it with this. I can't remember. I think it was about 30 less. I want to say he had roughly like 230 crit damage. It might have been a little bit less than that. It might have been like 228 or something like that. And it was able to noticeably go faster. And again, this was before I myself was able to 36 star the Abyss. But like, I was changing stuff around. I was testing it in the Abyss despite knowing my skill issues. And I went, that was faster. That was faster. I noticeably saw Neuvillette being faster, to the point where my talking to myself about it caused my husband to not watch the TV anymore, and he was watching me play on my laptop, and he went, that was faster. So even he saw it and was just like, you want me to give it a try? I said, sure. We flipped seats so he was at my computer, and he goes, your controls are weird, which they are. They're not default. They make sense to me in my brain, but to anybody else, they'd be like, why? So I was like, do you want to put it on the PlayStation? Because it has the default controls. And he was just like, yeah. So I logged out. He went in. And now keep in mind, at that point, I believe it was 33 stars. I was missing 1 star on each floor. And he managed for the second and third chambers immediately get that 3rd star. It was just the first chamber. And he was like, I don't think Arlie's cutting it, because it was the Dorito things. So he's like, what about him? He got stuff on? And it was Alhaitham. And I was like, yeah, he's got all of Cyno's old stuff. Just note he has a little bit of an ER problem because he has Cyno's old stuff. So for some reason, Cyno did not get any ER, and he's an ER hungry boy, and I don't know why I didn't fix that. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. A few tries. I think it took about 4 tries. And he was able to 36 star the Abyss. That was why I say it wasn't a fixing. It was a sprucing. It was a spit and polish scenario. And we can't give you back. Oh, crap. Risley, come get your book. There we go. So that's what I'm what I mean. I had the character.
Osmanthus wine tastes
I
the same as I remember. But where are those who share the memory?
Thank you, Zhongli. I haven't heard that in so long. But that's what the big difference is. I had the roster to actually go about it and do stuff. I had basically the Nouvellette Premium at the time, which was Nuvi, Farina, Baiju, and Kazuha. And it was really that second team. I had Arlie, which was Arlie. What was it? I think it was Mono Pyro because this was before Emily. So I had Arlie, Zhongli, and my Zhongli is built. He is a hybrid build because he was my on fielder for the longest time when I got him and stuff like that, and still learning how to play the game, mind you. So his stuff was his main attack is actually like level 7 because of that. But it was those two plus Bennett plus Zhang Ling. And it was a solid team. It's just that it wasn't doing enough to push it through. And Alhaitham, though Alhaitham's stats weren't as good as Arlie's, he at least had reactions on his side. So he had Nahida, so he could link everything, she could link everything together for him. And then we had Kuki and we had Sing Cho. And my Sing Cho wasn't as built as he is now. So it was a matter of learning certain patterns that the enemies would have and stuff like that, and mechanics and whatnot, like where to stand because they're going to teleport or something like that. I still have not mastered that, but my husband actually was able to figure that out in order to squeak that win out. In terms of the Witsith, back to Nouvellette with the Witsith, the funny thing about those 3 Arias and him only needing 1, for some reason, and I was hoping Mualani would do this, and she doesn't. For some reason, when it landed on the 2 that he does not need, that he does not use, it was doing the same damage as the Witsith. Not the Witsith, the Prototype Amber, excuse me. I'm talking about the Witsith. As the Prototype Amber. So he just got a net gain from it. So what does that mean when building the characters for artifacts? Well, I don't know what artifacts are good. Well, again, the game actually does tell you what people use, right? So you go up here, we're on his sands right now, we click up, we see the 3 sets that people put on him. I'm still surprised about Wanderer's Droop. And you have the main stats. If it's, a sands, goblet, or circlet, you're going to see the main stat of what he wants, and then the subsets subsequently. So the information is all there. It's all there. Now, his sands is actually really good. I'm actually really happy with his sands. His goblet, though I made this goblet, it rolled, unfortunately, the flat attack. I think it rolled the flat attack twice. I hit the wrong button. Yeah, it rolled the flat attack twice and the crit damage twice. If it didn't touch the flat attack, it would be so much better. But, that is what it is. This, can't complain. It got mostly this. Hello. His flat... So, we're going to get those reroll things in the next patch. This thing I will reroll because it touched crit rate once, didn't touch crit damage, got EM, which he doesn't really need, and he got HP. I'm not upset about the HP, I just wanted the crit damage roll. The crit rate roll I can't complain about, like I said. He only has like 70-something crit rate, so he could use a little bit more, just a wee bit. But I will re-roll that. So looking at this, you might look at it and be like, oh, I didn't roll any crit, it's garbage. No, he scales off of HP, so it's still a good piece for him, just not the best he can have. So don't dismiss pieces like that. Okay? Pay attention to what they scale off of. And again, if you ever question, it's like, oh, well, I don't really know, because, it's HP as the main stat, always on a flower. You click up, it's going to tell you crit damage, crit rate, and HP percent. This is what Nouvellette wants. This is what you should aim for. Okay? It's that simple in terms of knowing how to deem if an artifact is good. Hello, hello! How you all doing today? So in terms of the sprucing of the account, if you can realize, like, if you have characters that you know are like cracked or just really good. So for an example, I don't have Malvika, all right, but I'm going to use her as the example. Malvika is literally the new ceiling when it comes to damage. I'm doing all right. So Malvika's the new like ceiling when it comes to damage and stuff like that. The one thing that you have to remember with Malvika is that she doesn't need ER. So when you actually go and look at your codex pieces and you're like, I'm slapping this on because it has ER on it, she doesn't need it. But if that ER piece, you know, it's one of the substats, not main stat, but it's one of the substats, and you're like, it has ER on it, but it has some really, really good crit damage, slap that piece on Malvika. She can use the crit damage. Yeah, it sucks. She can't utilize the ER, but if you got some sweet crit damage on it, hell yeah, brother. Put that shit on her. So if you have the pieces, I would consider saying it's a sprucing of your account. It's just tidying it up and whatnot. And that's what you need. Okay? In terms of like my weapon selection on this account,
Staring into my
it's ill-advised. Okay. It's actually not bad. I at least have a row of 5-star weapons. But I didn't, and this is the funny thing, I tried to get a 5-star weapon when I got Sino. Okay? Technically Farina. So when Farina first came out, I was originally pulling for Baiju because I had done research on Baiju, going, oh, he's actually a solid healer, was the best healer in the game for the most part, and he could create a shield. And I went, that's perfect for Nouvelette because my Nouvelette was C0 and I wanted to be comfy. Okay. I started pulling on Baiju and then I did the trials and was like, man, Farina feels good. And saw some shenanigans with Farina. And I went, oh, she's actually really good for Nuvi. I used my guarantee on Farina, got her within like 30 some odd pulls, went back to pulling on Baiju, got him in 7, and I went, okay, well, now what do? I could save. And then I realized I didn't have a weapon for Farina. Because at the time, I don't think I had Fav. And I went, well, I guess I'm going to pull for Tranquil Splendid Waters. Because even if I lose to the other weapon, I have Baiju. I didn't get enough wishes to get the weapon. To even get a single 5-star for that matter. But did manage a Fab in that time, so Farina was good. We then had the Sino Ayato banner. I think Sino and Ayato were together. And I wanted Sino. Mainly because of Alejandro Sub. But I wanted Sino. So I dropped some money, so I got Sino. And then I started pulling for Staff of Scarlet Sands. Well, I lost on Staff of Scarlet Sands to the Jade Spear. And from my research, Jade Spear was actually like Sino's second best in slot. So I was like, okay, well, I don't necessarily need to do that. This was also fairly early into the account's life. So, because I started halfway through Zhongli's banner. Then we had Nouvelette and Risley, so that's a month. Farina and Baiju, and then Sino and Ayato. So this was about like 2 to 3 months old on the account. So I did luck out in that regard. But I was like, yeah, I don't need to do that. But I was also watching a lot of other streamers and stuff like that, and I heard Constellation's always better than Weapon. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. It's more true nowadays than it is for the older characters. So I stupidly went for C1 Sino and got him fairly early, actually. So I do have a C1 Sino. Honestly, I should have just held on to the wishes. Because of the way the weapon banner was back then, which was when you had to do like 3 pulls. If you lost twice, you had to pull like for a 5-star 3 times. Which sucked ass. But I was just like, the Jade Spear is good enough. So at the time, I had the Jade Spear and I had Lost Prayer. Because Lost Prayer was my first 5-star off the standard banner. And then Navia came out. I was originally trying to pull for Mist Splitter. And then I started pulling on Navia's banner to try to get Sucrose constellations. And I got Navia. I went, well, all right, that was an early 5-star. Whoopsie doodle. Went back to the weapon banner. And I got the verdict. I was like, well, I'm glad I got Navia. Somewhere along the lines on the standard banner, I got the Wolf's Gravestone. And then I got the Skyward Blade. That was when I was going for the key. Because I wanted the key for Farina or Kuki. But I rejoiced because that was for Bennett. I was mad for all of 5 seconds. I can be mad at this. The last 5-star I got off the standard banner was another one. Not that I can't use it, but it is what it is. It's going to stay at level 1 until I think I need it. I deliberately pulled on for Shalonen's weapon because I was just like, well, I don't really need 2 Favs in that team because it would be running with Nouvellette. So the option was run the Fav or get her weapon. Now, I am aware that the craftable weapon's actually okay on her. But I was like, do I really want the craftable weapon? And I decided to go for her weapon because of Chiori's. Uraku Mistu. I think I was close. I think I said Naraku instead of Uraku. But Chiori's weapon is a pure stat stick. For my account anyway, because I don't have Chiori, I don't have Albedo. So I was like, okay, yeah, stat stick goes. I'm okay with that, because if I lose, I have a stat stick. Awesome! And it's usually on Alhaitham. Or my Traveler. Right now it's being held for Skirk. But I lost, got that, and then I got Shalonen's weapon, all good. And then I was like, when Nouvellette reruns, and I was so happy they changed the weapon banner. Because I was like, that means it's viable to pull on the weapon banner and you can actually get your shit. So when Nuvi reran, I said, I am going for the Tome of Eternal Flow so I don't have to deal with the Witsith randomness. Even though on him, it wasn't a total loss. Because, again, he was doing the same amount of damage with the Prototype Amber when he hit the 2 that didn't matter to him. So I did that. And I got incredibly lucky on those Nouvellette pulls. If you haven't seen that, I do have a clip of the weapon banner pull and when I actually got my C2. And that made me realize when Arlie reruns, I want her weapon. And she was on the Jade Spear. The stats on it are the exact same as the Jade Spear. Did I want the drip? Absolutely. Did I want her passive? Yes. So she would do more damage. It became viable to do that. So I chose to do that over C1. Now, I did luck out with C1 because I was trying for Lanyan and got a very early 5-star. And then we got... and then we, of course, did Escoffier. Escoffier was another funny one. I had planned on getting her anyway. I read what her weapon did, and I'm like, hey, that sounds like a really good idea. I think I'm going to, dip into the Skirk funds, because I was just going to start saving for Skirk, and go after her weapon. Got it fairly early. I was like, okay, cool. Start reading what her C1 does. Her C1's pretty good. Maybe I'll just dip in. I'll tell you if I can get her C1. If anything, it's building pity towards Skirk. And I get her early, and it's just like, okay, eventually my luck's going to run out. Unless all my bad luck is going to the other account, in which case you can stay over there. But knowing when to actually go for the weapons is crucial. I had the characters set up. I had okay stuff on them prior, because even Lost Prayer was on Nouvellette until I got pieces that had a little bit of crit rate on them. To make sure he could crit with the Marutusei Hunter. So, all the things do actually add up. You just have to analyze it. So if you have the pieces together, you can make the teams, right? There's just like, oh, if I had this weapon, it would be pretty good. Then go for that weapon. So like if you're using Newbie and you're like, his damage could be a little bit better, maybe I should go for Tome of the Eternal Flow. If you're actively using Newbie, he's your favorite character, or he's just one of your favorites, absolutely go for it. The problem with Genshin is the power creep. We saw that with Malvika. Like I said, she is like beyond the sky at this point. You thought Nouvellette was a ceiling. She is the freaking sky when it comes to damage. Eventually, yeah, newbie's probably not going to be as powerful. Although I do find it funny, he keeps getting playmates to play around with. But that's the difference between fixing and sprucing. You have like the people. You just need to tweak the builds because the fundamentals are all there. You just need to actually maybe have the lucked out roll. So the second month, because I was looking for things that would net me damage that wasn't totally random, I had, you know, the 4-star weapons like the Witsith. The Witsith wasn't leveled at the time, and that's what spawned me leveling weapons. I unfortunately ran out of weapon XP very, very fast because I was doing that. So if you do go for that push of leveling even just 4-star weapons, that could be good. Say like, oh, hey, Zhang Ling was on Fab, but you really wanted her damage output to become, you know, to be more prominent, and you go for the catch. But you need stuff for the catch. Be aware of that you're going to need to like perhaps mine. And back then I was actually doing what I called Material Mondays, where I would actually go out and I would do a mining route and a couple other things as well on the overworld. You don't necessarily have to do something like that, but again, that organization is going to be key to help you out a ton. And also don't forget that like your expedition that you can do, you can send characters out to go mine. And I have, at least on this account, I think I have 2 characters that do it. Whereas on the other account, I have 3, which I should probably change up to actually get more Mora. But again, you know, everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to be different. But make sure your weapons are leveled. Make sure your talents are leveled. And again, just again, if we have, we go to Shannon. So she's level 80. She's using a weapon that's technically not really made for her. I just wanted the energy recharge because I didn't have another Fab Codex. She is on 2-piece attack. And her talents are level 8. But that's because she's level 80. So she can go into the theater just fine. And she's at max talents, all well and good. The moment I do her ascension, I will focus on getting those talents to 9, because that's as max you can go without needing to use a crown. And again, the crowns are so few and far between that it's kind of gravy on top, cherry on top. I'm going to question how I actually thought ice cream and thought gravy at the same time. So honestly, aim for level 9 talents. But when you're level 8, if you're capped at 80, get them to not 8, and that's, you know, leave them be until they're ascended. You don't need to pre-farm or anything, but do try to get organized and make sure you know when you can go and farm it. Or, hell, if you're not really caring about getting them to level 9 right away, you could literally just go, I'm going to farm artifacts all freaking week, and then on Sunday go and do the talent books. Because everything is open, which it should be. But everything will go like that, and like we have level 90 Kaching. And we only need this, and I need 7 more. I should be able to do this, actually. I just need 7 more. I am going to have to craft some Whopper Flowers. I will need to farm some Whopper Flowers. But again, like, if you're looking at this like, oh, I should really farm this, don't be afraid to go into the book and do the bounties. Yeah, it'll stop you at some other point going, okay, that's all that's in the book. And then you have to figure out where the rest of them are if you really just want to go ham and slaughter them all over to that. But there are ways to keep everything up to date.
Advised. I can't promise you'll love.
Add Astra.
But it was literally that one instance. Yep. Yeah, and this has the hour and a half, because again, going on late. All right, let's go and do my artifact route, which is now at like 1:30, right? Yep. There might be an instance where I just don't do this tomorrow, because I forget. But when I was leveling the weapons and ran out of weapon XP, I literally change tactics to farm other things. Like I went for talent books and stuff like that. Emily came out and I went, okay, well, I can't level anything else on like certain weapons. And the funny thing is like I was leveling like the Wolf's Gravestone, right? And I'm like, why the hell am I leveling the Wolf's Gravestone outside of the fact that it's a 5-star weapon? I wasn't using a Claymore user at the time. I had Dea, sure, but I wasn't using her at the time. So why should I level a weapon that I'm not using? That was a waste of resources at the time. How many times did I say that? I have no idea. Sorry, I had to take a sip of my coffee. So I feel that leveling the Wolf's Gravestone at that moment was wrong. Because as I was doing it, I realized I hadn't touched the Wit Sith, which was the whole point of me doing that. So before the testing, the Wit Sith was only level 88 by the end of it, and not fully level 90 when we actually cleared the Abyss. I think part of that had to do with me getting the Skyward Blade too. Because I was mid-leveling Wolf's Gravestone and then got the Skyward Blade, and I was just like, well, I'm actually going to use this, so I'm going to level this now. But I had Emily come out, and I was already farming the Knave because I had farmed it for Arlecchino. So I had a chunk of stuff already available. And I was like, well, if I get the last thing that Arlie needs, the last candle, I'll just triple crown her. Because she was at 10, 9, 10. I think it was, or 10, 10, 9. It was one of the two. Excuse me. And again, I was farming for Emily, and I got a bunch of, I think she shared the same books too. I think it was Guides to Order. So I had stuff left over from Arlie that Emily just seemed to level absolutely no problem. And at the time, I was just like, yeah, August was going to be a month of Arlecchino, and I was going to farm nothing but Whimsy. Outside of my boss runs, of course. I was going to farm nothing but Whimsy and just see if I could get her on that artifact set as opposed to the gladiator set I had her on. And yeah, the only thing I forgot Bennett.
Everybody stand back!
I am concerned. There was a very big delay in him getting that energy. Normally that doesn't happen. Oh. Yeah, like a lot, I've seen a lot of either fixing videos or just, even just in general, some streamers just have her on Gladiator because it's what they had on them. And they had decent pieces, so why bother trying to go after Whimsy? Well, the only reason to go after Whimsy is just to go for the passive of Whimsy that deals with the Bond of Life. But there's nothing wrong with having a set like Glad on a character like Arlecchino. If you have a decent set, go for it. And there's nothing wrong with using that set and go, I think I do want her on Whimsy. So in my case, on the other account, Veresa is an excellent example of that. Because I have her on Codex because I had a lot of hand-me-down pieces of Codex from Chaska. Because I was trying to actually up my Chaska build. So she is on Codex, which she has a fairly good ratio on her, while I try to farm, when I have the stuff to do so, the Plunge set. So again, nothing wrong. I love sets like Marchese Hunter or Codex because it gives you free crit rate and you don't have to overthink it. Now, when it comes to like choosing weapons, like, oh, I don't know what's good on somebody outside of their signatures, of course. I'm actually still rocking Glad since her release. Excellent. Again, like I was rocking Glad for a while since her release. And then I was just like, I kind of want to put her on her set. And I haven't looked back. I still have some of those Glad pieces too. They actually got moved around to like Sino and stuff like that. Although Sino already had a really good flower. Sometimes it just comes down to how if the set is not for them, or like it's their second best or something like that, sometimes it turns out to be what's best in slot because of the substats and how they rolled. I've heard countless times saying that's like, well, what's better on like Nuvi, HP or Hydro? For me, it's Hydro. But sometimes it's like if your HP goblet has way better substats than the Hydro one, guess what's probably going to be better? Oh, we're doing the Baywatch run again. Doing the Baywatch run. But I do think it's ridiculous for someone to give advice that's like a 5-year veteran, so they've been playing since day one, to a new player that has absolutely nothing. And it's either because they're not at the AR to really farm artifacts, or guess what? Their luck is just shit.
Teamwork is dreamwork. See, Laline, eat Papa. Get.
But also understand this too. Your characters might not actually be shit. You might just be on the right path and needing the sprucing that I did. But also keep in mind, if you're talking about not being able to complete the Spiral Abyss with 36 stars, it might just be because the Abyss got harder. And that's the thing that we also realized with that specific Abyss, was that it got harder. So my account had just started kind of easily doing it. And then for 2 months or so, for 2 cycles of it, it struggled. And then it's been able to clear ever since. So it might just be like, if you hear somebody say, like an oldie veteran say, if your account is like a year old and you can't clear the Spiral Abyss, it might not be the account, it might be you, or like you've done something wrong. That's not really the case, because one, you might not have the plethora of a library of weapons or artifacts that somebody has that's an older player. But also, well, challenging the newer abysses, the goalpost has moved. The amount of damage you have to do within the time limit, is actually insane. So the fact that like my second account has just 36 starred the Abyss and it's over a year old, this kind of has to do with one of two things. It has to do with the DPS roster that I have access to, which, again, that's why I said it needs to be fixed a little bit, because I wasn't anticipating that. I was going, hey, I'm actually getting the new DPSs, the Natlan DPSs. I should have no problem. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. And they're actually well invested. So this ultimately is a problem with the Abyss and not necessarily me. So don't take it to heart. You'll get it eventually. And you ready, Granny? There you go. Don't know why you did that so early. Don't take it to heart that you can't do it right away. Just note that it's not the same as it once was, and it has gotten more difficult. And you'll get it eventually. By whatever means, you'll get it eventually. a weird delay. He punched me. My first 36-star best. My second team was maxed out Eula with 3 level 60, 70 subs. Oh, so 70 supports. I can read. Old Abyss was much easier. Yeah, yeah. So like, for those who need a refresher on this, I didn't start playing until the second half of 4.0. So my first actual 36 star of the Abyss was, I think, the following April or something like that. And again, it wasn't me doing it. My husband actually went in just to see if he could do it so I could have the primos out of it. And he could do it just fine. So again, there was skill issue on my behalf because Genshin is not a game I normally play. Like this kind of action adventure RPG. I don't typically play anything like this. I just really like the look of Zhongli and when I want the husbando. Husbando's a dragon. I want the husbando more. Husbando uses a spear. I need him. And then Uvulek came out. He's blue. He's actually a dragon. I love him. I don't know why me facing my camera that way just makes her slide down the stairs. She'll run down if I'm actually behind her. It's kind of weird. No, don't start climbing.
I'm tired already.
Me too. Nah, actually I'm doing all right. I'm actually doing pretty okay. Like, I wish I could have experienced the super old abysses. But, like, even the ones I did try to do, like, looking back, it's just like, huh, that literally is a skill issue that I couldn't do it. Like, for real. It was literally a skill issue that I could not do it. And then we had the abyss get harder and harder, and then the thing that was deemed, like, the hardest abyss ever. This was after, this was in October of last year. I don't even know what caused me to get up so early that day, but I was just like, I'm not tired. I guess I'll go in and do stuff on Genshin. And the abyss had reset, and that's not where I wanted to go, game. I'm getting that little bit of lag, so it snapped to the wrong thing. But I was just like, yeah, I guess I'll do the Abyss, and I was doing fairly well, and it was, I think, the first floor that had, oh god. It was the two things in the talent domain, the weird sphere things. I don't remember what they're called. But it had them, and I tried so many different things, and I was like, Arlecchino has to be key here, because she's the second strongest character on my account. And Nuvolite was absolutely trouncing his side, so I had plenty of time. It was just a matter of getting it exactly right with the Arlie setup. And, because I was trying to strong arm using Navia. And my Navia wasn't terrible, and she's still not, but she wasn't terrible. But she was no Arlecchino. And eventually I was just like, all right, I'm going to try it with Arlie, and managed to do it. I actually have a screenshot of the Abyss floors being cleared before I claimed everything, and noting when I did it, because that was... You're not Arlie. Well, Arlie did nothing. Because for some reason it said I hit Escoffier. Start against physical Zhongli and physical Fischl as one of the consistent teams that cleared abysses. Isn't I have the bow, I think, on... I'm pretty sure I have it on the other account. I don't know if I have it on this one. But isn't the bow that's considered Fischl's bow, the 4-star one, a physical bow? Is that where the physical Fischl actually comes from? Physical Zhongli I could see, because again, I remember I said he was my on-fielder. So I could totally see that. And here's the other thing, too, when it comes to pulling characters. You know, obviously, pull who you like. I'm not going to tell you no. Like, you want Kokomi, go after Kokomi. You want somebody on that Chronicle Wish and stuff like that because they're your absolute favorite character. You know, at the end of the day, do what's fun for you and everything. I lucked out, and the reason I played the game was Zhongli, and Zhongli just happened to have the strongest shield in the game. Zhongli actually made it so I kept playing the game because his shield allowed me to make mistakes and learn, you know, when to. I was still trying to dodge, don't get me wrong. I was still trying to dodge, but like me getting clipped by something and it destroyed the shield and didn't outright kill me made me go, okay, I have to be a little bit faster on that, or that's what this move does, blah, blah, blah. It literally taught me how to play the game in a safe manner. So if anyone's just like, you know, don't pull for this X reason, just know that's my story with Zhongli, and it helped. Get back here. Mine now. No, I don't want to fight you. I'll fight everything else, but not you. Oh, we're doing Baywatch run again. To the point where she's actually climbing boxes. Frankly, I'm actually kind of surprised at how well my connection is holding up today. Huh, and there's nothing up there on my main account. So weird. Unless it's absolute, is that actually timed? Like for certain times of actual day and not in-game day? I actually don't know how that works. Because very rarely do I see it on both, like, I say that and she appears. Oh. Up one more rock, early. You showed up late to the meeting.
On to the freezer. Fulfill our pact. Get to work.
You're fired. And also, you know, no two accounts are going to be alike. No two players are going to be alike. If it takes you longer to do something in the game, don't sweat it. If you need to over-tweak your characters a little bit to get it done, don't sweat it, because that's what I had to do. So in order for me to do something. So like my husband could go on my account. So for an example, I hate the Imaginarium Theater with a passion because I've gotten cucked by the
Something you
cards
wish
so
to
many
report?
times.
No.
So I asked him to do this past Imaginarium Theater for me on both accounts. And he's like, oh, your main can actually do Visionary. And I was like, okay, cool. He had 0 issues with my characters. I made sure that some characters had more stuff on them, like Sino. I had to re-give him some stuff. We had to make sure Alhaitham had his stuff, and Kaching and all that stuff. And he was like, man, you can really tell that your Sino not only is level 90, but has shit on. And it's not even an optimal build for Sino. He's on 2-piece attack, 2-piece attack. Because I don't have another Thundering Fury set. And again, Alhaitham took his Gilded, so. But he was just wrecking stuff. And his weapon was a Deathmatch. I think he took the Deathmatch from Zhongli. So, it's kind of funny. It's just kind of funny with that. Your builds don't have to be super optimal. They just have to make sense. And then there's like the little meta things you can do, like if you're doing burning, right? You could do of course, Emily on the burning set, but then you could do something like having Dea as a thing for pyro and having her with Deepwood. So she's actually shredding the Dendro defense for Emily and doing more damage that way. I do have a Deepwood set for Dea. Hell, I could even make one for Zhongli if I wanted to, because I run Zhongli and Emily when I have to do that with Arlecchino. But there's little things you can do and that kind of stuff. If you're really into finding out the little intricacies of meta or something like that, that's when I would really pay attention to, the bigger streamers that do all the number crunching and stuff like that. And you can go, you know what? That's not a horrible idea to maybe have something like that on hand. Because honestly, Dea doesn't do a lot of damage. She's pure defensive kind of situation. It really doesn't matter what her substats are. As long as she's shredding that for Emily, you're good. All right, let's go and do I need to do the 3 ley lines. I'm trying to think. Cuz Skirk I think is going to need both drops in Fontaine and Natlan. Her herself I think is going to need the cogs. I have 200 here, 100 here, 24 here. So the cogs are still a possibility that I will need because she needs it for Ascension and her talents. And then we have the whistles, which could be for her weapon. All right, I think I'm going to do the cogs because I have 700 of these. From what I saw, the weapon will take this, but there's no guarantee I'm going to get the weapon. I'm going to guarantee myself Skirk, so... We go back to Fontaine. We gotta get Samora. Where the heck is Samora? There we go. And then we will go and do the talent domain for Kaching. If I over farm it, it's fine because I could use them for Gameng, so that's all well and good. Actually, after I'm done with this, I'll go to my teapot and grab the...
Overruled. At first, the flavor. Teamwork is dreamwork. Show no mercy. Eat Laline, eat Papa.
Give me them cogs. I'll double check my book count too. I think I saw I had like 300 books, which should be more than enough to level Skirk.
Transfix. A dash of frosting. The pinnacle of excellence. Everybody stand back. Let's light fulfill our pact. Suffer the wrath of Eastling.
This is like the 3rd time in a row that the Sacrifice hasn't proc. Does she have the Sacrifice on? Or did my stuff get moved around? No, she's got the Sacrifice. Damn! Damn! No, I missed one. Ew. Bonk.
Laid to bed. Up to the freezer. At first, the flavor. I'm going in.
Well, Bennett, you tried.
Show no mercy. Get to work. Not you two. Time to end them.
The wrong test subject.
Unfortunately, those were treasure hoarders, and I have plenty of those. I really should well, no, I take that back. I was gonna say I should do this with the newbie team, just because of Kazuha. But, that makes no sense, because half the time, I would get something that's immune to Hydro. And we don't want to make the Hydro Dragon cry. Alright, let's go to the teapot. Let me grab my, transient. And I will condense to make the runs a little bit faster because I went over time.
This
Oh
realm
yeah.
is truly
I barely have enough to do that. Is this? There we go. Okay, that's good. That's good.
if you ever
Let me see. That's yeah, okay. Okay, I'm over 600 now. So I'll have over 700 by the end of the week because I'm going to buy the books out of the teapot. Yeah, don't neglect your teapot, people. They actually do come in quite handy. And I have over 1,000 of these and almost 3,000 of these. So I should be more than enough, have more than enough for Skirk. Wow. All right. Ooh. That's an oomph. I might have to come back in a little bit later. We'll see. We'll see. I only need 7. Let me grab this so I could do this. All right, so 4 runs. 4 runs. We can see if we can do it in 4. Ooh. Levi. Just making sure. It should be prosperity. Yes, it is. And let's see if we can check off Kaching from my list. Only need 7, so if we get lucky on some of the double drop or gold drops, not necessarily double, but gold.
shower me with bring it. Hear the echoes of the valley.
Or okay.
Down.
Let's see what we can get. All right, that's at least 2.
Strike a pop. Let the mountain's veins boil.
Shit! Silence!
Okay, we got 1 there. So that's 3, that's 4. I might be 1 off. I'm not gonna lie.
Hear the echoes of the valley.
The wind knows me. Bow your head.
Five, 6. Maybe? Maybe? That should be 6.
Strike a pop.
Silence!
Oh, I sucked up the ball and it didn't look like he gained HP. Weird. That's weird. Can make 1 of these, which makes 1. So in theory, I should have enough. If not, I'll come back in later and get the last one. back to Fontaine. Ka-ching. We want her elemental skill. Alright, I'm gonna do this. We'll see if Layla can pop off. Can she give me one? Actually, no. Shit. I am one off. No! Oh no, that's right. I got one. So we have complete 6. Okay. Math needed 7. I forgot we got 1 gold. So, let's see. Can you pop off and give me 1, Layla? Yes, you can. Good girl. Alright. And I can officially have to craft one more thing. One sec. I got 2 more from Sucrose. That's cool. Whoopsies. And we can officially say she is done. And we put that nice little check mark off of Ka-ching. Or a smiley face, the way my pen just went. I'm happy about that, though. There you go. There's nothing wrong with stopping at level 8 to move on to another character, to get everybody up to snuff, to at least attempt to doing something. And then going back to the character to at least get them to level 9. It actually feels like it's a lot less work. So, that's just my 2 cents on the matter. No, I don't have any standard wishes. But let's check our, before I say let's check our Primo count and see how many wishes I have, let's hand in my daily so I can actually get the Primos to do that.
Ad Astra. Thank you for complete.
All right.
Extra fee for that.
I don't know why I flipped to the newbie team, but that's okay. All right, let's see what we've got. We are dealing with 59, which I should have 9 on me in total. Yes, so we have 68 there, and then we have 7 right now in glitter. So we are close to actually having 75, which is good. So we'll have enough for at least 1 5-star when the banners flip. Man, it feels like this set of banners went by so fast. So hopefully, as always, hopefully we can get Skirk early, or even if it goes to pity, we win the 50-50. That's all I care about. Because I think I've only lost... So here's the thing. Does it have to be consecutive losses? Or is it total losses? Because if it's consecutive, then I've lost none. But if it's since the change from Natlan, I think I've lost 3 times. My 50-50. I've lost on Raiden Shogun to Dea. And then C2 Nubalet to Diluc. And then when I tried for Veressa, I lost to Mona and saved the guarantee for Escoffier. So we could hope for capturing Radiance. That part of the capturing Radiance I'm still unclear about, but we're at least doing well. On this account, I at least didn't fall into the trap that is the Chronicle Wish. Again, on paper, I think it's a good idea. But I don't think it should take the limited wishes to use it. I think it should use standard because they're older. They're much older characters, and I think it would be a good use for the standard wishes. but I don't know. Like, I got roped in. Like, even on my main, I actually have the Mist Splitter set in case I did decide to just Hail Mary and try to get it. But I have yet to really see any earlies on the Chronicle Wish. It was few and far between for the wishing sessions I did watch via streams or YouTube and stuff. So I don't know. It still feels wrong to wish on it. It just feels bad. And like, there's such a limited pool of 4-star characters this time around for Inazuma, and all I'm wanting is on that account is a freaking Kuki. I just want Kuki C2 so I actually, fix her problem with her skill. That's all I want. And I've gotten Sayu, I've gotten Toma, and I think I got Heizo at one point, so I'm like, and then it just feels like you're getting weapons constantly. And that was true when I rolled on it for Mondstadt as well. I got like nothing but weapons or constellations for characters. What should have been an easy grab for characters like Bennett, Fischl, and Sucrose, I got none of those. I bought Fischl out of the shop. I got Bennett later on a banner he was on, I believe. And I got Sucrose on a banner, or it was either on a banner she was on or it was standard. I almost want to say it was a standard that I finally got her. But it wasn't the Chronicle Wish. It was all constellations I got on the Chronicle Wish. Do I regret that because of Kaya? Absolutely not. I had C2 Kaya very, very early because of that. But it could have been so much more. So if you're rolling on the Chronicle Wish, I wish you the utmost luck on getting what you are pathed for. Because if you're rolling for a weapon and you lose that 50-50, good luck getting the primos to actually get that guarantee. Because otherwise, it goes bye-bye. And that's the thing I think needs to change. There's on the Chronicle Wish, maybe there's no 50-50. I think that might have to be the thing. Because of the consistency of how long it takes to get something, I feel that there shouldn't be a 50-50 on it. And people might be a little bit more apt to spend on the Chronicle Wish if it's just 100% guaranteed to get your path at some point, knowing that it's going to take you mostly to Hard Pity. It's wishful thinking. I know. But a girl can dream. Girl can dream. All right. Thank you all for hanging out today. Pretty sure it's not consecutive, but I think they only count for after. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they only count after Natlan. So if it doesn't have to be like, to me, it makes sense that it doesn't have to be consecutive on the losses because eventually you will win, which would reset the counter to the point where it never triggers, unless you're incredibly unlucky. So if it's not consecutive, I have 3 losses in the bank from Natlan at least. So, but we'll see what happens. I mean, like I said, it changes next week. So next Wednesday we'll pull for Skirk. So that's gonna be awesome. I got to make sure I have everything all set. With Kaching out of the way, she was the last one that needed talent books for the level 81 plus characters. So I think I'm going to start farming contention. To actually have a surplus for Skirk, because I believe that's the one she is going to be using. And then I gotta look up what her weapon needs, which I think is the mirror. I think I saw the mirror things, which I have a couple of, but not a lot. So I'm probably going to be needing that. I gotta figure out what day that is, because my list on the wall only lists talent books, because that's the amount of space I have. But again, thank you all for helping or hanging out today. Helping. You guys helped too. You carried on the conversation with me and lending an ear to my rambles about perhaps looking into your accounts and seeing how you can spruce them up, or if they need fixing, how to fix it. But the most important thing is it is a game. You're supposed to have fun with it. It's not meant to be try hard or anything like that. And if you are pulling your hair out over something in the game, take a step back, put the controller down, keyboard down, whatever you play with, and have a nice breather. Because the difficulty is only going to go up. I can almost guarantee that. I didn't get to Star Rail today, unfortunately, but I probably will just going to do that on my own time. I just really wanted to jump into Pure Fiction and give it a whirl. But again, if you were wishing on the Chronicle Wish, or even for Kinich or Raiden Shogun, good luck on your pulls on the last 8 days of the banner. And if you're going for Skirk, hope you got your primos ready. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Till then, guys, take care.